So with the rats, when they found out that this particular tone, made aggression with these guys, caused this aggression, I'm assuming that at that moment, whatever those waves are, you just simply flip them upside down and it cancels it out. Is that kind of what they did to make it so it's the opposite direction of aggression?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that part. Flipping the polarity on it, like would it invert the intent or the message? I'm not too sure. From my understanding, the way sound works is that you have like your fundamental waves, and then you have a certain hierarchy, from that fundamental wave. And within all the combinations of all these tones, there's actually a culmination of, clashing and boosting that's coming together. So like, to really isolate it to one particular tone, I'm not sure if they have done that yet. But if that's the case, then, they can reduce that. And they just cut it by half and half and half. So then from there, I think if they like actually add like a third or something like that, like something that that actually opposes it on a mathematical node, that may be the only way they could flip it. But I think it's like a certain range that is generated, that the tone. Because what happens with our brain when we hear certain tones is that certain chemicals are being created, and they're affecting our mind in whatever kind of specific state of judgment that we're in. And the way our neurons and everything react to these chemicals is what's going to determine the outcome of the thought process. So like, finding out, first I guess they had to pinpoint what the aggressive tone was.
Wow.
So I guess it would make sense to, flip it, take it out of the equation and stabilizes everybody,
It's interesting because this goes right along with the idea of, have you ever heard of the Rife machine? R-I-F-E? Back in the 1930s, there's a guy, I forgot what his first name was, but he was Dr. Rife, and he was doing all these experiments on different tones, and he found that different tones did different things. So he was able to assimilate even things like cancer. Okay, so cancer, he found a specific tone, and then he would play on his Rife machine that the exact opposite of that tone, because just like a breaking glass, this glass has its own tone. That's why opera singers are able to break the glass, because the opera singer sings at the same tone that the glass is made of, so it smashes it. It cancels it out. It's like 1 plus -1.
It's called a resonant frequency.
So they do that for the cancer. They do that for headaches. They do this for all this kinds of stuff.
I've heard about this. He even had it as far down to like specific elements.
Big
like
time.
Leukemia.
Yes.
Psoriasis.
Yes.
A couple of other
Lyme
things.
disease. Anxiety. All kinds of crazy stuff.
Glaucoma, I think, was another one. Yeah. Okay. I remember this now. Yeah, it was like a little.
They taught you about them?
It was a little sound cannon, like, basically.
You would shoot it. This guy was so innovative, but the thing is that they ended up shutting him down because it was. They're like, well, this isn't, medicine. This isn't what we have to sell people. You're doing this, and we don't like that.
There was no evidence of this machine's ever working, although he had numerous detailed reports of actually curing his patients. And a similar thing even with Edgar Cayce, who was known as the sleeping psychic. People would come up to him as he was sleeping or induced into trance, discussing their ailments, and he will write down on a piece of paper exactly what they need to do to cure themselves. When he came conscious, he didn't remember anything that happened.
Edgar Cayce.
Yeah.
Edgar Cayce.
Yeah.
He would be channeling it while he was sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he was illiterate. He couldn't even write or spell his own name. So it's like, how was he able to write and spell out everything that he did, giving the people the cure for something? And then they go and they do it, and they come back and they say that they're cured. and yet all of his so-called medical studies and finds cannot be considered as such according to our conventional practices of what we call wisdom. You know, being able to have this theory tested and prove it in order for some kind of capital market, you know, it's just wrong. You know, the pharmaceutical companies and everybody, you know, just basically stealing money out of our pockets for what? Selling us a pill that doesn't really do what it's intended to do. You know, selling us on a dream and everything. But yeah, that's a bit of a tangent.
Well, it's incredible when you look deep into this stuff and you see that some people are still using that sound therapy to this date. They're still using it to get rid of this stuff. There was this interesting on YouTube. There was this interesting microscopic. There was a doctor who was using the rifle machine on a patient, and he showed through the microscope this paramecium, this cancerous paramecium. And you see it moving around, and he played it at its exact frequency. And you could see that it was like breaking down. You could see it was like breaking down, like it was losing life. And all of the other little microbes and everything else were fine. But it was breaking down until it got to the point where it just went bleh, and it just kind of died. And it didn't move anymore. And you could see the food that it ate in its belly swimming around, trying to get out. It was crazy. It was nuts when I saw it, because I thought, wow, this is quite interesting. Something my buddy talks to me about, my buddy Michael Schlee, he talks about how in the olden days, DuPont and all these guys, DuPont and all these guys decided that they were going to kind of come out the rules as to how the medical stuff was, and they were no longer allowed to cure. They could only treat. Things. And now this makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Words, yeah. Because there's no profit in the cure.
Right, yeah.
If they cured everybody from cancer, there would be no more cancer business. Or maybe there would be.
Like, let's just treat it. Let's just keep putting a little Band-Aid on it. It'll still keep turning into this terrible thing, but let's just put a little Band-Aid on it.
Yeah. That's the same. I mean, that's the same thing that happened with my one of my grandmothers, and she had ulcers. She ended up dying from ulcers. She ended up developing like 3 or 6 ulcers. But during the course of that time, all of her doctors was telling her, oh, you just need some Robitussin. And they prescribed her Robitussin. And it got to the point to where she was internally bleeding and had to have surgery. And yeah, it was just all bad. They suggested she had an epidural. She didn't want an epidural. They forced the epidural on her anyway. Ended up paralyzing her from her shoulder down. And I mean, this is so-called safe practices. You know, this is what they said was procedure and protocol. They were supposed to do this. And it's not. And it wasn't. You know, that was malpractice. And yeah, she ended up losing her life after that. You know. But this kind of stuff is going on all around the world, you know. We see so many people that are in such conditions. We don't know what they were told. We don't know what happened to them. But, you know, common consensus, you know, everybody judges everybody based off appearances. So, you know, a lot of people don't, you know, have the initiative to try to ask, you know, what's wrong, if they can help or anything like that. It's kind of messed up.
Well, and the extra messed up thing is the idea that because we've been brought up believing that these are the professionals, you know, they know what they're doing. Let's leave it to them. Let them take care of us. And so we put our lives in their hands. And you know, even if we end up discovering information that is contrary to that, let's say we find some herb or we find some root, some berry,
or some
that
Edgar Casey kind of guy.
Yeah.
And they're gonna tell us, no, don't trust him.
Right.
You know, listen to us. We know what we're talking about. The truth of the matter is, they don't. You know, they really don't know everything that they're talking about. They still don't know what it is exactly that causes cancer. You know, they just know that certain things can trigger it. You know, but there's other people that have different kind of perspectives and will say that You know, we're all born with cancer cells within us. They just have to be activated, and they can be deactivated. And certain people have been either put out of the country or taken off the face of the earth for publicizing these kind of details, you know, because of the kind of market that it's affected. You know, it's a profiting kind of world. So as soon as you knock somebody's hustle down, you know, they're gonna come after you. You're playing with their money. Just like, technically the only reason why murder is considered illegal is because that's one less potential client for a bank. One less social security number to have a fucking tax ID attached to it. You know?
And what's so crazy, as that person dies, the government still gets the taxes. They still get, you know, so this relative gives you, you know, puts you in their will or whatever, and they give this money to you or what have you, and then the government comes in and goes, oh, we need to have our portion. Well, wait. Throughout the whole life that this person was living, every single time that they got a paycheck, every time they paid for something, you're always taking taxes, and you're still taking taxes. What is it? A death tax? Like, what the hell?
Is
like
death insurance a thing now?
Right.
Right on, man.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Even while spending taxes in real life, you still, on your way out, you're still responsible for paying some taxes. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the more that you get outside of that matrix, that's the tricky thing. You could find out about these interesting alternative methods. Because whenever I think about the Native Americans, and they grew up on the fat, the quote, fat of the land, unquote, where they had everything they needed. Pull it off a tree. Oh, get it off a bush. Grow it out of the ground, and there it is. I'm nauseous. I don't feel so good. You know, Chief walks in the wind. Oh, here, chew on this leaf. Chew on this leaf, little stand by the river. You know, you know, chew on this leaf. That'll take care of your nausea. Like, holy cow, they had everything they needed back then.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, things just got crazy and complicated, huh?
Yeah. But I mean, look what that, you know, pushed us to. Look what that pushed human beings to do. Like, you just mentioned about that rifle machine. You know, I'm pretty sure that dude would have never have went into that kind of field of study if it wasn't for the way he was seeing, you know, the medical profession as it was at that time, which was, I don't know, I would like to say that the doctors, you know, back in the day were a little bit better than the ones today, considering the whole pharmaceutical takeover. But then again, you know, they did have like liquid cocaine for eye drops, so I don't know how much you know, prescribing fucking heroin to kids who had coughs.
Right. Here, kid, you got a cough, take this heroin.
Take some heroin, boy. Smack you right up. Smack you out of it. Now we calling it smack. Like, man.
It's interesting because the more that you find yourself finding these alternate methods and these things that work out really well, and you know, whether it be the rifle machine, whether it be ozonated water, all these things to help you out. What's tricky is, well, I should say it's tricky because for every interest that's out there, there's going to be who knows how many people who have a similar interest. As obscure as it'll be, as weird as the music is, or as strange as a movie is, or there's always going to be that cult that follows around and goes, yes, this is the best.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because, you know, you can find those people who will be open to those ideas. My buddy Mike Schlee, who told me about the ozonated water. You know about the ozonated water, right? Or what do you know about ozonated water?
I don't know anything about ozonated water. I know about distilled water. Well, I've heard some stories about distilled water.
What are your thoughts? What have you heard about distilled water? Because I heard it's pretty damn good for you. It kills all the parasites and bad stuff in you. Yeah. But it's not good to drink a lot of. You know, it's like good to drink through a gallon and then wait maybe a month and then.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, the way I heard about it was that it had to do with like electrical balances. You know, the charge in your body is at a certain, I think it's negative. Everything that's natural has like a negative charge And anything that isn't natural or that isn't supposed to be in your body has a positive charge. And what the water does is just acts as a magnet to pull all of those positive charges, so you just flush it out, and just expel it all of it. Now, I don't know if that's to say that if you drink too much, you'll get rid of so much positive charges to where you actually become sick. That makes sense,
Right.
Because to a certain extent, we need certain things like our hands. Our whole entire body is covered with germs. Yet, some like genealogists or whatever will say that it's actually worse for you to put hand sanitizer on to clean off all those germs on your body, because now you just killed the good germs that was on your body. The natural good germs that combat the bad germs. I don't know how true that is, but, considering that, it's like, all right, so is it that we need a little bit of bad so we stay good? The contrast between light and dark.
Right? It is crazy. Because, it's so interesting, because Alan Watts talks a lot about this, he says there's this thing, that we go through, there's this myth, it's like black versus white. Black versus white. Oh, I hope black wins. Okay. Oh, I hope white wins. Okay. Black versus white. It's like the game is not fun if there isn't the threat of losing. So it's this thing where no matter what side you choose, no matter what, someone is going to lose. Because it wouldn't be fun if you won every single time, would it?
Both people won. It wouldn't be fun if both people won everything.
Right.
Would it be the same if both people lost?
There's that thing that keeps you on the edge of like, okay, because then what happens is by losing once in a while, then a lot of times that could enforce a whole nother skill set that you didn't realize that you had, or a whole nother idea for something you didn't have before.
It's that whole I don't know, I want to say like punishment and reward kind of mindset. When you win, you feel like you're going to be rewarded. So what do you get? You get the trophy, you get the banner, you get the car, all of those guys. I'm going to Disneyland. What about the losing team?
I'm going to Disneyland.
The losing team ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Or maybe they are going to Disneyland. Who knows? But that kind of competition, it's been ingrained in us. And I think, in a culmination of factors, we have sports, right? You got politics. I mean, I think those are probably the biggest two.
Competition type things, right?
That divides people. Or also religion. Religion, politics, sports. Those three things right there, you get into a little topic of a discussion on any one of those, people get all touchy about it. They want to fight you after it. Yeah,
and then you enter that idea of men versus women. That's another one that'll be a dicey thing, huh?
Right. Still with the competition instead of,
It's like me, in your face. Well, how do we bring it together to make this? How do we?
So look, you're better at lifting weights. I'm better at figuring out directions.
Yeah, right.
We get in a car, we're driving. Hey, G, you're going to have to push more than me.
Yeah.
When it comes down to putting on this tire, all right, I got to do it. Maybe I can figure that out a little bit better. You got the strength, You got to learn how to use each other's strengths, to help each other instead of, just beating each other.
Well, and that's the tricky thing, I think, because, okay, so you always hear, that phrase, whatever the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Another analogy would be whoever is yelling the loudest gets heard. So the thing that's being yelled the loudest is on the TV and in the media and in the news, and whoever is stuck within the matrix of hearing that. So when you're dealing with the minds that are stuck within that room full of mirrors where every direction they look is another either negative thing, another sad thing, another divisive thing, because these guys up here who are giving the programming, they're going, here's what you're going to be divisive on today.
Yeah.
Okay, today it's men versus women. Okay, today it's whatever, fake lawns versus real lawns. Okay, tomorrow it's roller skates versus roller blades. Today,
right.
whatever the thing is, climate change versus global warming, whatever it is, we're just going to make you guys fight each other, because the more you guys are fighting each other is the less you're questioning what we are doing.
Methods of distraction, it's gotten better over the years, considering that, just sitting here in this bar, look at what we have on this TV. Two things, right? Between what they call, I don't know, two different forms of entertainment, right? We got sports and then we got random video.
Yeah.
And it's like, nothing about this is supposed to be taken seriously, because look at the setting we're in. We're in a bar. Nothing serious is supposed to be going on in the bar, but yet looking around us, just like with that little protest that we had earlier, something with, it was a religious kind of protest, it said Jesus loves or something like that. But never mind that, stay over here in this mindset.
And what's so crazy is like, things like sports contain all the elements. It's like it gets so close right up to a point. It contains all of the elements of what can really make humans really phenomenal. It contains all these elements. The togetherness, okay? A huge crowd coming together in harmony for, cheering on this thing. Good vibes, excitement. Now, what are the things where it kind of goes wrong? Well, it's still a divisive issue, because it's us versus them. Oh, I'm going to get very angry if my team doesn't win. I'm going to beat up someone who's a fan of the other team if my team loses. I'm going to go home and I'm going to cry if my team loses. Whatever those things are. There are all these little divisive kinds of things, And then obviously while they're up in there in the stands, they're getting advertised to by a whole bunch of advertisements that may or may not care about your well-being. They just want you to buy what they got, And then you go in there, you get your $14 Dodger dog or whatever. You get your $32 beer, And so there are all those little extra elements. But the idea of everyone coming together, that's really the the first time that it popped into my brain, where I really saw all of these elements of the universe really poking through, was when I really started thinking about basketball. I was looking at basketball and I go, wow, this is interesting. You got all these elements that perfectly reflect all the best elements of source as we know it, all the best elements of all that is, and all the elements of the universe as we know it. Unification, we got unification. So you got all these people coming together going, yeah, filled with excitement, filled with joy. You got the idea that it's a game. All these elements that life is, all these analogies. Life is a game. Life is about harmony. Life is about going for that rare opportunity of trying to hit it into a basket. You're trying to hit it into a basket from a faraway point. What happens when you get in there? Everybody erupts. Everybody's so excited. So then I started thinking, oh my God, this in a sense, what if this was an analogy for the unseen universe, the invisible universe? Certain aspects, the aspects of, the hallelujah, hallelujah, the angels being together on your side, the guides, all of your unseen guides together for you. You going for it, following your heart. Your following your heart is going for the basket, shooting for that basket. Now, all the ways in which it doesn't get it right, where it gets it kind of polluted, is the advertisements, is the us versus them, is the, all of those little hurdles that kind of get in the way of that true message. Now, what if you were to erase all those things and just leave what were the best elements of it, which is the harmony, people coming together, the taking a risk, doing something that seems completely unorthodox, and shooting it not from the three-point line, but from way back on your side of the court, where your basket is, and shooting it way to the other side, and pulling a Michael Jordan while you're jumping from that three-point line or even the four-point line, and jumping from there and making it into the basket. So you take those particular elements and you go, oh my God, what's that now? Also equally an element for, an analogy for. That also is the analogy for the sperm making it to the egg. The sperm making it to the egg. Everybody involved with that baby making process wants that sperm to make it to the egg. Everybody, including obviously the mother and the father. But then you get microscopically, everybody's rooting for it. But what's there? The obstacles. What are the obstacles? Are you going to choose the right fallopian tube or the wrong fallopian tube? You got two decisions there. Now, in addition to that, you got all the other stuff that's going for that. Your little sperm cell and its little pod and its little rocket that's moving it through. What's in there? You got these things that are going, "Rah!" These freaking tentacles that are trying to knock you out of the sky. If you hit the wall of the fallopian tube, good luck. You're going to get stuck to that thing. You're not coming off of that thing. Dude, you're not going to make it. No baby is being born if you stick to that wall or some thing goes, "Rah!" knocks you out of the sky. So then, you're hoping to God you make it. You hope to God that you're the one that makes it to that egg. But then guess what? You got to break through that egg on top of it. So you got all these other little guys who are going, let me in, let me in, let me in. And they're all breaking in, trying to break it in. Well, guess what? That egg, that's not the end of it. That egg is far bigger than any sperm. Who knows what's inside the egg now that you got to get through? Is there a maze, like a freaking labyrinth now that this little sperm has to go through? Is it just easy? Do they break through and bam, now they got the prize? I somehow feel that that's not the case. I have a feeling that it's like the video game, just like Legend of Zelda. Yeah, okay, you got to the castle that Zelda is at, but now you got to go through the castle.
You gotta get up the tower.
You gotta
You gotta find the tower.
That's right. What's in the tower? You got things that are shooting out these little poison, little poison darts now. Or you got some monster that goes rah 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 rah, shooting fire at you. Or you got some kind of booby trap where if you fall into there, okay, now you're going into a whole nother level that you got to get out of. There's no telling what the sperm has to go through. So as I thought about the basketball game and how close it mirrored just that baby making process, and like we all are rooting for you. Come on, here you go. So you got the adversity. Okay, are you going to choose the right fallopian tube? Okay, once you're in the right fallopian tube, are you going to make it through that thing alive? I saw this really awesome computer simulation that someone had made up online, and it said, this is what that sperm has to go through. And once I saw that, I appreciated the whole process so much more. And then guess what? I gave myself a big hallelujah and going, holy shnikes, I somehow made it to that egg. Out of all that, we made it through, man. That, in a sense, is winning a lottery. All the rest of this stuff is just sugar on top, All the rest of it is just sugar on top.
Great.
Holy shit. This is a big playful experiment.
Yeah. One big petri dish.
So that's the cool thing. So now, bam, here we are. We made it to the egg. Bam. Okay, cool. On top of that, now we got who knows how many unseen guides and angels or extraterrestrials on the scene that are helping us move along. Those synchronicities that we come across, that deja vu, those serendipities, those little magic moments. That's a high five from the universe and all of its associates and all of its friends that are going, bam, you noticed me. Right. Thank you for noticing me.
Right.
And as a thank you for that, I'm going to give you a whole lot more. You notice that with synchronicities, that more of them come to your way?
Yeah.
If you appreciate it.
No, yeah, especially lately. I mean, it's been like a really, really strong mix of good and bad luck, that I've been going through lately. Like my car getting stuck in that ATM just the other day.
Well, guess what? What did that lead to? This phenomenal conversation we get to have.
Right. Which is a beautiful
Look what happened with the universe, dude.
Exactly. So it was like this was meant to happen.
You never know. We never know how it's going to shapeshift.
Yeah, we really don't. We really don't, man.
Dude.
And it's like, they always say everything happens for a reason, right? And a lot of people would accept that. I always had a problem with that expression. And it wasn't until I even heard it in a song, and this was my philosophy of thinking of it, was that things happen, everything happens. All right, what is it? Everything happens for a reason? There's a reason why everything happens.
I love it. I love it. You twisted it right around. You went, zip, zip. You turn it on.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
But could it be that there's a reason why everything happens? There's a reason why certain things happen. You know, maybe the reason for me having my debit card stuck yesterday was to have this podcast here with you today.
Because then I go back and I get to think about all this great information that we talked about, right. And it's saved, and then we get to share this with a whole populace of people who might be going through some incredibly very similar circumstances, and those who aren't. And now this opens up a light bulb in their brains to go, okay, I'm going to watch less television. You know, listen, folks, you can still watch, and I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do, but I can tell you, I've survived 18 years now without watching official television, any official television. Yes, I'll tell you, these are the workarounds. YouTube, Netflix, and finding clever apps through Cody to be able to hack into certain things. But this all has to rely on following your heart. It's a big experiment in following your heart, not following what's being given to you by the authorities that think this is the information that you need to see, but really following your heart and following your intuition and tuning into the things that really make sense to you, and keeping good company with those who also understand the same kind of thing. Reciprocation, people, precipitation, because you are what you eat. And that could be the conversations you're having. That could be the magazines you're reading. That could be the music you're listening to. That is what you're eating. As you talk about it, as you think about it, it gets precipitated in your conversations. Right. Now that keeps spreading on. It's a domino effect.
Yeah, just like what I implement into my music, you know, and how other people are able to receive that message. You know, a lot of the things that we experiment or experience go into the things that we do in the first place. You know, whether or not you understand it or you know it, that is happening, it is happening. Like even with me being a cook and even being a cook at Universal, you know, I noticed a difference within myself of how I feel about work. You know, working in the theme park versus working in hotels, banquet halls, and, you know, 5-star restaurants and things like that. So even like soccer games and convention centers and whatnot, you know, all of these things, there's a big difference, you know. And the way I was over at Universal, you know, I started taking certain things more personal, you know, because not even of the customers, it was with my own coworkers. You know, my own coworkers would dip out of the restaurant, you know, take longer breaks than they needed and everything.
Kind of slacking off a little.
Yeah, and they knew that I would pick up and I would, you know, keep everything running. But then, you know, when I caught on that I was doing it to an extent to where I was pretty much the only one working in the kitchen. And it was a day that we sold over 183,000 people. And then I looked back at the whole day, like, you know, for about 4 hours, I was by myself. And I thought back on it, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that should have never went down like that. I shouldn't have continued working, you know, going through that whole thing. And I thought to myself, well, why the hell did I do it in the first place? You know, a regular person would have been like, you know, what the fuck, I'm done. Like, I'm on burgers, you want pizzas, there's nobody.
Were you aware at that time of how many people were out there, or how much you had to create? Were you aware at that time or no?
I actually was, because
Do people make you aware of this?
I was in the front at first, and I see the line. And it's buffet style, so you got to have the windows filled up. People just grab this shit and they go pay for it. So we had to have the windows full, and I'm like, oh fuck, windows is going down. I need to put out more burgers. Okay, now they need fries, now they need tenders, now they need onion rings. Oh damn, turkey legs, chicken is out. Gravy, mashed potatoes, corn, biscuits, pizzas, cheese and pepperoni pizzas. Like, oh my god, all these things is out.
Where the heck was everybody? Where were they?
I'm going around looking for people and I can't find them. I can't even find my managers or supervisor or anything. And I'm like, what the hell? So then, you know, everybody's looking at me like, yo, where's the food? Where's the food? And I'm like, yo, I feel for these people. I want to get them their food as quick as I can, you know, as much as I can. Next thing I know, down here 4 hours go by, somebody comes down, hey, Namon, you okay? Hell no. I need a break. Where the fuck is everybody else at? These people need to eat. It wasn't me taking it out on the guests, because they got top-notch shit, you know. Their fries wasn't all soggy. They came out perfect every single fucking time, because I made sure I did that shit right. And
so you really treated each one as like its own art project. You made it its own masterpiece, huh?
I was told from the chef that trained me, Chef Daryl Hall, he said, whatever you do, everything you make it like you will make it for yourself. I took that to heart.
That's the way to do it. The golden rule, man. The classic golden rule.
Dude, that makes total perfect sense. I'm like, I love the fact that you said that, because I'm going to do that. I was going to do that anyway, but you said it that way, and I was like, this is perfect. This is
what
the way
a beautiful thing to implement in the team.
It should be done this way. Like, yeah, I'm not going to serve you this. Why? Because I want to eat it.
Right.
So now you know, whatever the hell I'm serving you, I will eat that shit my damn
Yes,
self.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Hey, man.
That's right.
You say this burger is overdone. Trust me, it's not. I will eat it myself. Really. I've even had a couple of occasions where I had to say that. You think this is this way? Trust me, it's not. I will eat it myself. They eat it. Oh, my God. I don't think I want to order my stuff ever, you know, unlike this again. Like, you know, nice toasty pizza versus a pizza that kind of flops around when you shake it. Nice toasty pizza that holds its body. Bam, you bite into it. It's got a nice little crunch, but on the outside,
nice toasty piece.
On the outside, you know, it'll have some blackness on it. You know, the cheese will have some char on it. The pepperoni will kind of buckled up on a crisp, and it's got like a nice little black ring around it. You know, but then again, at the same time, you bite into that and you chew that pepperoni, and you're like, damn, this is the best tasting pepperoni pizza I ever had.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, dude, something so simple as this tastes better than anything else you ever got. Not only that, it tastes better than any one of these pieces you bought from here, from this particular venue. Everybody here has the same ingredient. We have the same fucking dough. We got the same marinara. We got the same cheese, same pepperoni. But I guarantee you, after mine comes out, you're gonna eat mine, like mine better than everybody else.
Well, you know, and this goes right along. What's interesting is this a beautiful analogy that fits right in line. This a beautiful analogy that fits right in line with what you were saying earlier about your music. You're instilling that magic in all this food that you're creating for these people. You have this original intention, like you were saying earlier about the big steps.
Right.
Big giant stepping through. You had that intention. You infused it into your music.
Yeah.
You're infusing a specific intention into the music that which is music. You're making an orchestra of tastes in their mouth.
Right.
You're conducting a whole series of tastes in these people's mouths that are based in this intention. Oh my God, that's beautiful. That's the unseen ingredient, the intention. You're adding the intention of going, yep, I would eat this. This is what I would eat. And I would be very happy to provide this to anybody. I'd be very proud. If someone came up to me and says, I don't like this burger, you know that you would have, what you could say to them is, look, this burger is something I personally would eat. If it's not your kind of burger, I'm sorry, but I want to let you know that this is something I created with equality in mind.
Right.
You know, this is something I created with that idea that I'm not just going to make a half-assed creation here.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like, it was a notorious thing to happen over there at that spot. In Universal, the theme park in general, but even, you know, from the transitions of cooking on flat tops or using a machine like at Carl's Jr. And people will still get their burgers to send back their burgers. Now, this is a machine that's cooking it now. And according to the conventional processing, everything should come out orderly, even, exactly every single time, right?
Yeah.
But there were certain things that other cooks didn't really understand and know about food itself. You know, the machine is one thing. Yeah, it's going to do its job. But the food itself, you know. And it came down to something as simple as this. Two things. the difference between an unthawed hamburger patty and a frozen one. And it comes down to this thing, which is how many indentations you put onto the patty itself. Right? So a lot of
What do you mean? What is
that? A lot
that?
of people would just they'll poke a straight hole right through the middle of the patty. Now that's messed up because
what does
the
that
patty's
mean?
Gonna lose all of its juice.
What?
All right, so the indentations, you go in like a third of an inch, right? And
Oh, you're poking little holes in it.
Not a hole, not a hole.
Oh, no,
Don't go
what do you
all the
mean?
way through.
Well, like
just
what?
indent it.
Just
Leave
indent it.
like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
So like leaving 3 fingerprints will get you like a medium rare, right? Leaving like
Interesting.
1 or 2 will get you more closer to rare. And then the more and
The more
more,
holes you...
the more indents you put into it, the more evenly distributed the heat gets around the whole part. So then
So
makes
it
a
breathes
fuller-
more. It breathes
it
more.
makes a fuller cook. It's not necessarily that it breathes more.
Because it seems like it would have more avenues to be able to travel through.
It keeps the other side from bubbling. Because you don't want that bubble to happen. And then when it comes down to the integrity of the patty, it doesn't shrink as much. You know? You ever notice like when you put burgers on the grill, they shrink so big? They come from so big to so small. Alright, that's because you're cooking it way too long. 1. And then the proper indentations 2. So even with this machine, people didn't really understand that. Like, it took me some time to understand it and learn it. Somebody else had taught me some tips. I learned from it, perfected it, and I never once got a single burger that came back to me. And every single one of them came out medium rare. Okay.
With how many indentures?
I did 7. 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, 1 in the middle.
That's awesome. So you're making it an art project while you're making it an art project.
Yeah.
There are a lot of details and layers and textures here. I love this.
Specific, and then I'll do that to every single patty.
And people taste that through there, man. People taste that. People taste that.
They know
art.
They don't know it, but they eat it and they love it, right? So I never got a burger sent back to me. And then everybody else in my venue had a burger sent back to me. You know, I would replace somebody that was working on burgers. Next thing you know, hey, Namon, this one came back bad. They didn't like it. They didn't like the way you did it. Hold on, buddy. I just got here. First, know who you're talking to when you say that. Second,
know who you're talking to when you say
I wasn't the one that did that, okay? I don't do those kind of things.
Right.
And they're like, you know what, you're right. And it took like a couple of the other leads from the front of the house that's been there for some years. They're like, you know what? That is one thing that I noticed and I've really realized about you when you're up here. When you're up here and you're cooking the burgers yourself, none of them come back. I never once remember anyone complaining about your food. But everybody else, they'll complain about it. And I'm like, why is that? And they're like, I don't know, dog. I don't know what you're doing over there, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And then it got to the point to where some of my managers would see me make my own burger. I did a little bit of extras. And they're like, man, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just making me my burger. And they're like, really? You're going through all of that just to make a burger? Fuck yeah. And I'm about to cook it upstairs. So I had to go upstairs with my raw beef, my raw meat and everything, going upstairs so I could cook it on the flat top. So I had better control on the flat top. Even though the machine was to give us convenience of time management, it really didn't. Not for me, at least. I could have did it the same way within the same amount of time.
Are any of these people asking you what you're doing so ideally they can improve the quality all over?
Some of them kind of did, but they still didn't really get it, which was kind of sad. Like my own managers that weren't cooks versus one of the managers that I had that was a cook. You know, the one that was a cook, he ended up taking one of the most, common dish that I made over there. And they used to actually serve it, was like a Western bacon burger. But I put my bacon inside of my burger.
Do you chop the patty in half and you make the patty itself a sandwich, or what? What do you do?
Like, you just pull apart the meat, you make two balls, you flatten them out into
You hide it in there.
And you smash it in there, you throw some mozzarella cheese in there, cover that up, seal it up. Now that became a Juicy Lucy. Then I take some onion rings and I take some barbecue sauce, spread it all over, throw some extra slices of bacon on top, and then I'm walking out with this fat monstrosity, and they're looking at me like, what did you do? Did you use 2 burger patties? No, I did not. This is 1 burger patty. Okay.
This is what we call the Juicy Lucy, sir.
Yeah. And they'll look at it like,
I love it.
That's actually an original name for a burger that they make out in Memphis.
Oh my God.
They sell that. That's their thing.
God. So you learned from that. Wait, is that where you're from?
No. I just learned that from another cook that worked over there at Universal. You know, he came up to me one day. He was like, you know what? I like the way you work. You're new here and everything, but I'm going to show you something. I was like, great. I'd love to. He's like, you ever had a Juicy Lucy? I was like, no, what the hell is that? So then he takes the burger apart, he does that for I was like, oh my God, I got it from here, man. And so then the
bacon itself actually cooks within the hamburger? The bacon itself cooks with it? Oh, you already cooked the...
Yeah, pre-cooked bacon.
Pre-cooked bacon and then...
I tried it with the raw bacon. It doesn't come out the same.
Oh boy. It takes a lot of experimentation in these matters, yeah.
Yeah, it really
So
does.
do you cook the bacon first and then you cook the hamburger? Or do you already have the hamburger cooked to a certain point?
No. You cook the bacon first, then you cook the hamburger.
So it's double cooked. This bacon is kind of double cooked slightly.
Almost, yeah. You don't have to cook it all the way unless, you know, you're going for a certain texture. You know, if you want like a nice little crunch.
Oh yeah, the crispy. Oh yeah, get it really nice and crunchy.
So get it crispy. Go ahead and do that. It's perfectly fine. When you put it inside of the burger, the fat, the leftover fat that's going to come off of the bacon is going to go through the burger. Right? And the burger's already going to put out an extra amount of fat, depending on your fat ratio. So you're going to get a nice little crust on both sides, and that's all what it's about.
You're a scientist, man. You're a scientist of taste.
Yes, I was a scientist in art. So, and that's the same.
You're really experimenting with this, like pure chemistry here.
Yeah, and I mean, I treat everything like that, from food to my music. You know, my music, the way I'll lay down like a certain like a foundation. Maybe it's like a bass line, maybe just a cello. Maybe it's even something just staccato and just repetitive. And from there, I start adding little things in between. And I'll see how that comes together. Then I take certain things out of it. So this is like, that's the only one thing you can't do with cooking. You can't add things and take them back out. You know, once you add them, it's done.
Yeah, like one of the things you always hear is you can always add too much salt.
No.
Wait, what's the word? Don't
underseason. Just don't overseason.
Yeah, you can always overseason. Yeah.
But depending on certain things, you can go heavy on.
Yeah.
And if you knew like the tricks of the trade of it, you know, like if you're working with a dish, you know, like a big piece of meat that's gonna put out a lot of juice, and you oversalted it, you can always add potatoes to like soak up some of that salt.
This is crazy. So what you're
Depending
finding out what are the things that can kind of soak up.
Right.
If there's too much of the sweet, add this thing that kind of goes, okay, go in this direction,
so
kind
like
of
a pot roast that you're making like a crock pot, you know, and you over season the shit out of the meat, you know, and you knew that before it started cooking. Okay, and you're like, oh fuck, what the hell did I just do here?
Yeah.
Throw those potatoes in there, some carrots, some onions, cover it, let it be. You know, it's gonna come out perfect. Cut some nice big chunky potatoes, or you know, put a lot of enough potatoes in there.
So potatoes soak it up like a sponge, huh?
Yeah, it'll soak it up. You know.
Whoa.
A lot of times, even when you're just making potatoes, you know, using a regular amount of what you think will be a regular amount, usually you'll have to put more because it's just gonna soak it up. Almost to the point to where you can hardly taste it. So then you have to put a little bit more. You know, that's why fries usually are so heavily salted. You know, we don't mind that. That's what we're looking for when we're eating the fry. Right?
Right.
Nice salty, crunchy fry. you bite into it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Put that with a heavily seasoned burger. Oh, you're gonna hate that.
Oh yeah, the two of them together would be really. So it's like kind of one or the other has to be sort of the featured, like the rock star, like the headliner of the.
Right. Depending on the dish. Now, if it was a pot roast that was cooked in a crock pot, and you realize you over-season your meat, you always add potatoes to it, some carrots, and it'll kind of balance everything out as it's still cooking. You know, so little things like that. Like even with the music. You know, that's one thing that I have an option of. You know, I start with a building block, I work around it, see how it all presents itself. Lately, it's became more of a ritual or a habit to where I start off with something because I use this technique so much. You know, and I'll start off with something that leads me into another piece. Right now, they're working together perfectly. But for some reason, this next piece that I make, like this next track, next section that I make to accompany it, for some reason, it's totally changed everything. So now I A and B different chunks together, right? And I listen, see what's different about it, which one impacts me the most, which one is more like authentic and original, and then from there. I just discard of whatever is not going to be used. Now, most people won't. Sometimes I keep it and use it later. But if it's too like relatable to each other, then I just discard it in general. You know, I won't even come back to it. Or if I do come back to it, even after I discard it, I'll think to myself, okay, how can I recreate that? It's not going to be exactly the same, which is perfectly fine with me. I'm okay
and
with
plus,
it.
any one of those other little riffs or little giblets that you created can always be utilized for something else in the future.
Right. And those usually go into like the next segment within that same piece because one, I don't want to forget it. Two, I have to use it now. You know, I can't come back to it later. And that's one thing that I had a problem with almost at first, you know, starting with certain things and then how to finish it. You know?
Trying to keep it fresh, trying to keep that the train is going. Yeah.
You know? And, you know, if I take myself off of it too early, a lot of times I'm not coming back to it. Or if I do come back to it, nothing's really there. And then other times I can piece together certain sections or certain pieces that I have that has nothing to do with each other initially, but then for some reason when I'm going back through and I get into, you know, one of those kind of writing blocks that I get into, I start listening to other things, start putting things together, and you're like, let me just see if this will work out. You know, they kind of have a similar kind of feel to it in a way. It could be the pitch, it could be the keys, it could be the chord progression, it could be the tempo, whatever it is. You know, either I blend them or I put them side by side, or I take a piece of this and I take a piece of that, and I just like kind of Frankenstein it together, you know. Then it all just comes together and it's like, I don't know, it becomes something totally different than what it was intended.
Now, do you have, I mean, you've got a lot of songs. Do you have albums out there in the world that people can listen to, or EPs or anything?
Nah, not at all, not yet. I've just been too busy working, and like now I'm going to...
Because a lot of music has concepts to it, you know, and especially if you have that idea of like a concept story where you got 3 or 4 songs that fit within this theme, you know, it wouldn't hurt to get them out there.
No, not at all. And that's the thing that I still had. That's one of my challenges, is finding time to go back, organize everything, and have it in a presentable manner that I feel comfortable with. You know?
Can we play one of your songs on this particular podcast that we were recording?
Heck yeah. I would love nothing more but to have that happen. Hell yeah.
Well, listen, folks, we're going to be right back. I have to go to the bathroom, and we're also going to play one of Namon's songs, so be prepared.